What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Moto Aftermath Show, presented by TLR Coatings and Durango Guitar Works for all your custom powder coating needs and all your custom guitar needs. As you guys can see, I'm in the studio and I am solo. I'm here doing the show, wrapping up Salt Lake City round 2 and Salt Lake City round 3. We're doing 2 rounds. Like we said before, we basically are only doing the shows on Monday still. We're only filming them on Monday like we've always been. We just don't have enough time in our day at this point. This job doesn't pay enough, mostly because it doesn't pay anything, to justify doing 2 shows in a week here in this very strange time. But that's okay, because there is one man by himself here doing it. And Max is over in the corner too. Anyway, so we are back, like I said, wrapping up rounds 2 and 3. Make sure to follow us on all the major social media networks there. We've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook. Max at 601 Media is with us. He is lighting some fire on the old Instagram over there with some amateur edits, and he has a couple of races coming up here that he is going to do some filming. Where are you going?
Baja.
You're going to Baja this weekend?
I think next weekend, and if it's this weekend, then Redbud this weekend, and then Baja next weekend.
Okay, so he's going to try to be at Redbud one weekend, Baja the next weekend. Yeah, because Redbud opens this weekend too. Look at that big ass spider.
Jesus Christ.
Wolf spider. Anyway, yeah, so make sure to follow. Just leave the damn thing. I already crushed like 3 of them today. Just make sure to follow us on all the major social media networks. I assume Cole has been Twitter fingering a little bit here. Then if you want to support us, we have all sorts of channels to support us. So we have, there's Patreon, there's Amazon, there's Teespring, there's all sorts of ways. The biggest way you can do it is to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Share with your friends that we're out here doing this. And that way we get more eyeballs on us, and makes for better times. So I guess the first thing we'll jump into is we had, like I said, round 2 and 3, so we had 2 tracks. Round 2, the track was much better than round 1. There was actually lots of different jumps. There was a couple different jump options. It was still somewhat basic, but they had the thing that separated it, super long whoop section. I think there was close to 15 whoops, if there wasn't 15 whoops, in round 2 there. So that was good. The track was a little better. It was a night race. It was very late. Sucked. It was in the middle of my work week on Wednesday, and it was super late. But anyway, so that track was okay. The track on Sunday yesterday, that track again was a little bit better. There were some different jump options, and obviously we had some weather. We thought we were going to have a mutter. It ended up actually being somewhat decent for the heat races and the LCQs. Then we started getting rain when the 250 main came along, and by the time we got the 450 main, it wasn't really raining anymore. So it was an interesting weather day, to say the least. Also, when we started the series last week, whatever it was, the first round was like 90 degrees. It was only a high of 49 yesterday. So that was an interesting dynamic to what was going on. Is the microphone on? Mm-hmm. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. You know, before I sit here and spout off for 15 minutes. So anyway, the tracks, they're okay, but we're still in Salt Lake City. So you okay over there? You got it? You good? Okay, cool. So anyway, let's jump into fantasy. I had a couple of absolutely horrific fantasy days. Wednesday, I scored on PulpMX Fantasy only 187 points. I got screwed. We had, what was it? No. What did I have? Oh, crap. Now I gotta go back and look. Sorry, pause. Hey, can you cut this out?
Yep. That thing's scary. Oh my god, dude, that thing's zooming.
Bro, it's just a spider. Oh, crap. Oh, of course, my fucking thing's not
Wow, the
gonna work.
onboard audio on this thing's actually pretty good. Dude, this thing's really good. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Imagine one of those spiders crawling up freaking butt crack.
Nah, it's okay. Yeah, so on Wednesday, I had 187 points. My 250 riders, Kyle Peters, John Short, Curran Thurman, and Shane McElrath. I've never been so conflicted at the end of an LCQ as when I had Morans and Thurman battling for that final transfer spot. Thurman did end up getting him and got in, and so I scored okay points that day on the 250s. Where I really got screwed was 450s. I had Baggett, Blos, Alex Ray, and Brayton. And Alex Ray decided that he was not going to qualify for the main event. So I got 0 points for that. So that was good. Then if we move on here to Sunday's race. Yeah, so this was great. So I had in the 250s, I had Pierce Brown, I had Colt Nichols, I had Cody Schock, who we got lucky we made our first main, and I had Garrett Marchbanks. And Marchbanks decided that he was going to wad himself hard in the first part of the first part of the 250 main. So I think I scored a whole like 2 or 3 points with him, so that was awesome. Then in the 450s, I had Jason Anderson, Aaron Plessinger, Kyle Cunningham, and Zach Osborne, and yeah, so those were all okay, except for Cunningham hanging out in the, like, I don't know where he finished. I couldn't even tell you, to be really honest with you. So all I know is it was not good. So I scored 187 and 190, not 2 of my best rounds ever. If you do want to play PulpMX Fantasy with us, we do have a league. It is a little late to get started if you haven't started already. But if you are playing, you can always join our league. We are giving out prizes to the top 3 people at the end of the season. So that's a cool thing. And I mean, I wish I had more people to ask how their fantasy went because, yeah, I don't really know. I don't pay attention to theirs. So I guess I'll just move on here to 250s. So we will take a quick break. We'll come back, we'll wrap up the 250 class here and give you some thoughts. Okay, so 250s, let's start with the race from Wednesday. So this would have been Salt Lake City 2. This would have been round 6, I think, for 250 East. So we start with 250 Heat 1. And basically, Sexton hole shots and runs away with it. And you could tell he's class of the field with McElrath, and he just pretty much put that stamp on it there with that 250 heat. In the first 250 heat, you also had Lopes. Big crash, came up short on the triple, wadded himself very good there. Looked like his shoulder was out. I haven't really heard anything to this point, but you could kind of see it on the TV broadcast, so I'm pretty sure his shoulder was out. Marchbanks, solid second in that heat race. He looks like he's taken a big step, and we'll get to obviously what happened to him yesterday in the race in round 3. But he looks like he's taken a big step. He looks like he's about to be the next guy. I think when he comes out next year, you're going to see a Garrett Marchbanks that is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the 250s, whichever coast he's riding. So that's gonna be interesting to watch as it goes forward here. I don't know what his actual status is. Like I said, we'll get into that. One big thing I noticed here right off the bat, there is no more real distancing as far as the mechanics go. So in round 1, they had X's that they had to stand on. The problem being, the guys who got the X's in the front row, you could still kind of use your pit board. I heard there was a big hubbub about that. I heard there was a lot of people unhappy about that. Round 2 here, we no longer had X's for mechanics. They were standing next to the blocks like they used to. Not quite as bunched up. They were spread out more. But still, they were all kind of up there. So that was interesting to see. Yeah, and that was pretty much all of Heat 1. Heat 2, Shane, obviously the other dominant force in the 250 East field here. He hole shots. He wins the race. He did have a little off-track excursion. Pierce Brown looked really good all day. He in Heat 2 there, he actually went down, and Nichols went down, and obviously, like I said, Shane won that heat race. As far as the 250 LCQ, Wilson Fleming had a big hole shot in the 250 LCQ. Like I said, I was very conflicted that night because of fantasy. Obviously, we sponsor Kevin Moran's. And we will be continuing to sponsor him, so make sure to go check him out here on all the social media. It was him and Kern Thurman battling for the final transfer spot. Thurman did end up getting him. Kevin, I did talk to him a little bit. Kevin was not upset at all. He said he would have done exactly the same thing. You know, you got to make the main if you're a privateer. So that's all there was to that. And then we get into the big show here. We're into the main event. So, put it on that page. Oh yeah. So 250 main event. Nichols gets the whole shot. Sexton's just absolutely buried off the start. Sexton goes down. He washes the front end. Pierce Brown runs over him. Sexton did recover to get fourth. However, Shane, good start, gets out front, obviously passes Nichols. I mean, surprise, he passes Nichols, right? Takes the lead and just runs away with it. Shane in Salt Lake City is just absolutely ridiculous. Part of this, I think, is the Star Bikes. The Star Bikes are very, very, very good pretty much everywhere, and you can really see it. I didn't really notice it the first round, but in this round, round two, I did start paying attention to it a little bit, and you can watch them off the gate, not even get the jump, and still go into the first corner right up there in the top five. It's pretty much insane the amount of power, extra power that they have. So anyway, like I said, he takes off, he wins. I have on here, did Nichols lay up? I think there probably was that a little bit. Basically, with Shane winning and Sexton getting fourth, they are tied in points after round two. So we have 2 red plates going into round 3. And then obviously, as I said, we go into round 3 here, and it is a complete and total mutter. Now you had 1 practice all day here in Salt Lake City round 3. The 1 practice was an interesting dynamic, but nothing we haven't seen before as far as when it comes to rain races. And then we get into it here, and the first heat, Shane was in, he hole shots, takes off, laps up to 5th. Just an absolutely dominating performance. Heat 2, Sexton, hole shots, wins, dominating performance, lapped up into the top 10 also. He did go down, I think he went down, yeah. And so we didn't quite get lapping up as far as Shane did, but still dominating performance, which sets the tone for the 250 main. The 250 LCQ, Bailey, we find out, is out. He has a broken thumb. Sinai gets a hole shot, and then Starling ends up winning it. The LCQ was somewhat entertaining. And then, like I said, we get to the 250 main, and we have the first start to the 250 main. Sexton manages somehow amazingly in the mud at elevation on that Geico Honda to rip a hole shot. And as soon as he rips the hole shot, Shane makes a power move in that second corner, pushes Sexton very wide. Now Shane claims, from what I hear in the press conference, I haven't watched it, he claims that he didn't make any contact. I have to go back and watch it. I thought he did. I didn't think it was a lot of contact, but I did think he made contact. And it was basically a power move by Shane of move, I'm going to the front and I'm going to win and I'm going to win this title. After that, it starts snowballing for Sexton, which, in my personal opinion, is something that we've kind of started to see with Sexton. We saw him in round 1 get beat down by Shane. We found out in between round 1. So from the Sunday to the Wednesday race, Sexton rode, I think it was Tuesday, maybe it was Monday. I think he rode Monday. Sexton actually rode Monday, like out there putting in motos on Monday. Like, what are you doing, man? You don't need to do that. You need to recover. But it was kind of reminiscent of like Dungey, of like beating himself into the ground, of like, what am I doing wrong? There has to be something I'm doing wrong. I'm not putting in enough work or something. No, that's not the case. Shane is a animal at Salt Lake City, an absolute animal, and he's putting it to you guys. And that's just all there is to it. There isn't any other way around it. He's just putting it to you guys. So he needs to just calm down. But anyway, after the first 2 rounds there, and now tied for the points when he came in with a 10-point lead, it definitely was making things interesting. So Sexton gets the lead, Shane comes up, power move, Shane takes off, it starts to snowball for Sexton. He ends up jumping into the side of Lopes at the end of a rhythm section and goes down. And then the motorcycle gods basically parted the skies for Sexton. Marchbanks goes down, complaining of some back pain. He seems to be okay. We don't have any final word yet, but so far from what I've heard, he seems to be okay. And we get a red flag and a restart. Sexton needs to send Marchbanks a Christmas card this year. We go on the second start. Shane McElrath and Sexton are 1-2. Sexton is basically pacing Shane. He knows where he can get him, and then Shane goes down. And Shane goes down, and Shane loses a lot of spots. Shane gets up. He comes back, and he puts in a hell of a ride to get back up to second place. He actually, at one point, Sexton was very close to about 20 seconds up. He just rode pretty much a perfect race after that restart. So anyway, Shane rides back, knocks actually 8 seconds off the lead, which was pretty impressive. They said on the broadcast, oh, well, I think Sexton's mailing it in, which he probably was a little bit, but still for Shane to make up 8 seconds there, that was impressive. But Sexton gets the win, and now he's 3 points back up. So this could make for quite possibly one of the most interesting East Coast Championship rounds as we go into the finals. Because if we have a nice day on, where are they racing? A week from Wednesday. If we have a nice day, there's a high probability that Shane wins that race. So if Shane wins that race, Sexton goes second, we're tied going into the shootout, which is absolutely amazing. You're going to have two guys literally tied going into this shootout round. It could be phenomenal. It could be an absolute phenomenal finish. We're not going to know literally until that race is over who is going to win. Now, if Sexton wins again, that makes a little different dynamic going in. But as much as I like Chase and I like Hondas, I don't necessarily foresee that happening. So, as far as that race goes, I mean, that's pretty much, I'm trying to do basically 4 races here all in one. So that's pretty much all I have. The other big news as far as the 250s go this week, you've got Jeremy Martin. The year has not been going excellent for Jeremy Martin. It has been going probably about as bad as you could possibly. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, Jeremy Martin, he, for those of you who haven't seen, he has basically walked away from the series here for the remainder of the season to go focus on outdoors. And they actually basically put it out there. They don't want him to point out. He would probably point out. I have heard some differing opinions here on whether or not he would actually point out this year or not. But basically he walked away so that he can come back next year. He has a 2-year deal with Geico, which goes through next year. So he can come back. I don't know how I feel about this move. I'm more impressed with this move here because they decided to actually put it out there like, yeah, we're doing this so he doesn't point out. But I don't know exactly how I feel about it. It's interesting. I'm very conflicted here. You can listen to Pulp MX and get the side of this is all stupid. I don't know. I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into it. It's because usually when guys do it, it's not a they don't put it out there that that's what they're doing, but they actually put it out there with J-Marts. So interesting move. Interesting East Coast, and we move on to West Coast here, coming back. So you have the big talk here is you have Jet Lawrence and Hunter Lawrence coming in for round 4. So that'll be interesting to see. But that's basically all I have for 250s. We'll move on to 450s where there was lots of action and talk about those. Okay, so here we are, we're getting into 450s here. Again, we're wrapping up 2 rounds at once here, so sorry if the information is somewhat more sparse than usual. Number 1, I'm floating solo, and number 2, obviously, 2 rounds is a lot to unpack. So we will start with round 2 here from Salt Lake City for the 450s here. We'll start with heat 1. Webb gets a hole shot. Reed gets a great start in that first 450 heat during the second race, and he is in 3rd. Stewart, absolutely flying through the whoops. Absolutely flying. He takes the lead, and we see Malcolm Stewart get his first heat race win of his 450 career. I was going to be actually a little disappointed if he didn't get the win because he was head and shoulders better than Coop in that heat race. So that was really cool to see a Stewart back on top there, and again flying through that gigantic whoop section. 450 Heat 2, Kenny gets the whole shot. Kenny's whoop speed through the first lap is just, it's amazing. That Honda was so dialed through the whoops. It was absolutely incredible. Blows and Baggett come together in that 450 Heat 2. They go down. Kenny ends up winning, and Eli goes from 7th to 2nd. Eli made a good charge in that heat race, but again could only get to 2nd because Kenny was just head and shoulders better. 450 LCQ, you had Justin Hill, who has to be somewhat the biggest letdown of the season here since we've returned. He's in the LCQ. And then you have the 7 deuce deuce. The only other thing I noticed in the 450 LCQ that day was him doing really well through the whoops, which was good. He looked very, very good during that second round. Then we get into the main. So to start with, on this on the Salt Lake City 2 track here, it was a right-handed first corner. Now, when we get ready for the 450 main, I see Eli and Kenny both lining up way inside. I actually honestly think Kenny might have been gate 1 on the inside there, and Eli was like 3. Brayton got between them. But anyway, Kenny had the only gate that there wasn't a gigantic hole right after it. But man, the positioning was horrible. I watched the right side of the gate all night, which would have been the complete inside of the corner. And no one was getting good jumps off of there, and no one was getting good starts off of there. And Eli and Kenny were no different. They both got crappy jumps. They both got shuffled back in that first corner, and they were both buried. They start working their way through the pack, and it's going okay. They get up to, I think, about 4th place, and you had Webb and Kenny both get by Eli, and everybody just goes, here we go. We're going to have an Eli meltdown. This is going to be impressive to watch how bad this is. Eli takes a break for a couple laps and takes a couple breaths, and then he puts on a charge that is just absolutely incredible. He goes through Kenny. He goes through Osborne. He gets into 2nd, and at that point, Webb is leading. And it is just Eli trying to catch him, basically. And he did a good job of getting close, but couldn't quite get it done. So Osborne got the whole shot in that 450 main, and Osborne leads for 16 minutes. And that was an impressive ride. For as bad as Osborne's 2020 season went before this whole break, it has completely turned around, and we'll get into the last race here, which was also good. But to lead 16 minutes when he'd only led 1 lap in one 450 Supercross before this was absolutely impressive to watch. Webb did end up getting him, but you know, Webb's just a gamer, and for someone to actually beat Webb straight up is impressive, and it doesn't usually happen. Like I said, Webb took the lead with about 4 minutes to go. He kind of checked out a little bit. Eli came up, got Zach at that point, and then went after Webb, but just couldn't quite get him. And then we can talk about the other big story from there, which would be Kenny. About 12 minutes in, Kenny just completely dropped anchor. You could watch him. He was tired. He was lethargic. There was no attack position when he was riding. And then he puts up a post in between race 2 and 3 here on social media, basically saying he's got some sort of breathing/respiratory issue. It's not asthma. The inhaler has been helping, but it's not helping now, which is probably partially due to the altitude. And like I said, just completely dropped anchor, and I don't even remember where he finished. It was not good. So anyway, it was puzzling to see, and it's not a good sign here. And then we move into Salt Lake City 3. So first 450 heat here in the mud. You have Webb gets the whole shot, makes a mistake, Ken passes him. Then you have Kenny gets a flat tire, and Webb ends up winning the heat race, which was it was impressive to see Kenny with a flat tire and still blitzing whoops. That was a pretty cool thing to see. And Mookie looked really good in that first 450 heat. You move into 450 heat 2. Osborne gets the whole shot. Anderson passes Osborne. Anderson looked great all day, looked great in the one practice. So that was not really a surprise. You had the Barcia and Tomac going back and forth battle. Basically, Tomac was coming from the back, and Barcia was not having it. Barcia was going right back at him, and I really thought they were going to get tangled up and go at it. But they didn't. Tomac ended up getting it, and Ando wins that second heat, his first heat race win of 2020. And then we get into the 450 LCQ, which was pretty interesting. Brees gets the whole shot. He goes down in the whoops on the last lap. Brees does make it in. Chiz wins. Good battle between Tickle and Norin, and I think it was Brees also. I mean, just a battle of who's not going to make a mistake or who's going to make the least amount of mistakes. So it was an interesting LCQ. And then we get into the main event again here. Now, no, it had been raining during the 250 LCQ. I thought we were really going to get into mutter territory here, but then it basically kind of stopped. So that was cool. But basically, 450 main, Osborne gets the whole shot. Webb right there with him. Webb ends up passing him. Tomac is then on a mission. He gets Osborne after the triple jump. Basically stuffs it in there. Ando comes up, gets Kenny. Kenny had a decent start, but about, again, here we are, 6 minutes in, 8 minutes in, he starts fading like a cheap suit, man, and fades all the way back to 10th place. And so whatever's wrong with Kenny here, it's a problem. And man, I'm nervous to see how these outdoors go with him. It's a breathing issue, so it's a big problem, man. That's all there is to it. It is a big problem, and I feel bad because we're just gets on the Honda and issue after issue after issue after issue. Lappers are the absolute. I mean, it was big. It was a huge factor in this race. Period. You had lappers going everywhere, and the fact that these guys in the front, aka Cooper and Tomac, who basically have checked out from everyone, are lapping up into the top 10. I mean, literally, did they lap up to 4th place? They lapped up to 4th place. It was absolutely intense. But you would have them on a straightaway battling, and there's 10 other guys on the straightaway all battling for position. So what do? You can't really get out of the way because you're going to compromise your position. It's a conundrum. There really isn't a good answer for it. But man, it made things great. And you had Tomac and Webb just going back and forth the entire main. It was great. And Tomac didn't have to do it. Ralph even said in the air, Tomac doesn't have to do this. Or I'm sorry, Ricky even said, Tomac doesn't have to do this. Why is he doing this? After the race, Tomac basically said, dude, I felt good, and when I feel good, I hate not winning. So he went for it, man, and he went toe-to-toe with Cooper Webb, and man, Cooper Webb almost got him. The only reason I think we didn't have a closer finish was because right before the right turn, right before the whoops, you had them both come up on Tyler Bowers was there, and nothing Tyler could do. He basically held the line he was in, which was all he could do, but it just screwed up Webb's line. Just screwed up Webb's line enough to make it where Webb couldn't get quite a good enough run through the whoops to hang with Tomac there, and Tomac gets the win. And now Tomac is 3 for 3 with wins here, or I'm sorry, 2 for 3 with wins. And yeah, Webb wasn't really pumped about it. You could tell. And man, if that kid's got blood in the water, like, you better look out, because we have what, 4 more of these, and it would not surprise me to watch Webb win all 4 of the rest of these races. But Tomac pretty much at this point, I know we still have 4 races left, and I always say it's not over till the fat lady sings with Tomac, but he is solidly in control. With Kenny's dismal performance yesterday, you now have Tomac 26 points ahead of him, and I believe it's 31 or 32 ahead of Webb. I do think Webb's going to get Roczen, because we don't really know what's wrong with Roczen. He's got issues, and it's not looking like it's going to get any better. I don't think he's going to pull out. I think he's going to finish it out, but man, heart just breaks for that kid. Tomac, like I said, I think he's going to get his first championship here, but do not be surprised if Cooper Webb wins 2, 3, even all 4 of these last races, because he is on one right now. So, and he is not scared to throw it in there on Eli and try to make something happen where he might be able to get himself another 10 points or something because Eli goes down. So either way, we're looking great here as we come up here for the last 4 rounds. I should hopefully have some backup next week on the show here. Justin said he was in for next week, so I won't be here just spewing forth stuff about 2 races by myself. But this has been another episode of the Moto Aftermath Show, presented by TLR Coatings and Durango Guitar Works. Like I said before, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. There's all sorts of ways that you can follow us. There's all sorts of ways that you can support us, and links in the description below. And we will be back next week wrapping up rounds 4 and 5. So thanks for tuning in. See ya.